Hi, welcome to another CSEC SBA Lab session with Mr. Wilson. Today we'll be looking at doing the SBA Labs in a virtual space using that which is available. It is important to note that the syllabus has 42 labs and we need just to cover about 18. But you have no need to worry. I will be taking you through with videos, suggestions, examples, and of course providing guide as we go along. But before we hop into the lesson, there are some persons who worked on a biology project with the CSEC Biology, the cover page this week, and I want to extend, of course, my gratitude to the entire team. Mr. Orville McLeod from over there in the USA, Miss Shernette White from Tarrant High School, Miss Bryce from Kellitz High School there in Clarendon, Miss Berrick from Porus High School there in Manchester, and Miss Hay from York Castle over there in Brownstown. There are some persons who are also loaded and locked into the program from St. Mary, from Kingston, the Tarrant High School team, some friends we have out of Trinidad and Tobago, USA, and England. We really appreciate you stopping by, being with us as we cover the content, CSEC Biology, trying to meet the needs of our students during this harsh time, this harsh environment, this harsh climate. A lot of persons are saying that they are really stressed. But if you have not yet subscribed, please ensure that you do. Please ensure that you hit that notification bell once you go subscribing. Ensure that you share, like, and of course, we want you to leave a comment at the end of the video. I want you to tell us which lab you have not seen and which lab we should be putting up next. All right, without further ado, remember it's CSEC Biology, SBA Labs with Mr. Wilson, Life and Environment Explained. Let's hop on into this lesson. In this lesson, we'll be taking you through the syllabus and the 42 labs that we can choose from. And we're going to be giving you a matrix, of course, that you could use to pretty much put together those labs and be on target, on point with the labs, even though we are operating from home. Can we do the labs from home? Yes, we can. And we are going to be helping you to go through that. Each week, we're going to be putting out a lab and, of course, guide as to how to get things done. So we're going to be putting out this major guide this week. And right after this, we're going to be putting out the genetics lab. And we're going to be taking you through that, and pretty soon I'm sure that you'll be able to cover that lab this week. Without further ado, let's hop right on into the lesson. This video is suitable for students all across the Caribbean doing the CSEC Biology Integrated Science SBA in grade 9, 10, and 11. Students doing human and social biology will also benefit from this video. So we're looking at CSEC Biology SBA Labs, and it's pretty much an online version, or what we call the virtual version, or the CSEC CXC SBA in a pandemic. Whatever name you want to give to it, feel free to do so. But we have tried to capture a whole lot of names that persons have been using. Now, a very important point to note is that a lab can be assessed for a maximum of 2 skills, and you want to ensure that you get these kids going. You want to keep them pretty much in the science while they're at home, and even engage the smaller ones, the family, in science, so that we see it as one of those day-to-day stuff that everyone can take part in. Now we're going to be looking at what the syllabus asks us to do first, and then we're going to be looking at others. So here we have a matrix of the labs. So we have 8 labs that the syllabus, we have 7 labs, sorry, that the syllabus wants us to look at. But before we hop into that, just pay a little attention to my screen here. All right, so we're going to be looking at the topics here. The topics we're going to be looking at ecology. The syllabus wants us to look at that for assessment. Diffusion or osmosis. We are going to be looking at photosynthesis or respiration. We're going to be looking at food tests, germination, and of course we're going to be looking at nutrition and disease and genetics. So all those make up the 7 compulsory labs that are listed in the back of your syllabus. Remember, at any time you can go to the internet to download a copy of the syllabus. So these are the skills that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be assessing ORR, that is observation, reporting, and recording. We're going to be looking at drawing skills, measurement and manipulation, planning and design, and of course we're going to be implementing the planning and design. Now it is expected for marking purposes you're going to be doing at least 2 ORR, 1 drawing, 2 2 planning and design, and of course 1 implementation. This does not mean that you are supposed to confine yourself or the students to 8 labs. It's expected that you should cover somewhere about 18 thereabout. That will be adequate, and being at home with a little more time, I'm sure that the students would enjoy doing some labs, providing that we provide the guidance. Now the green space here indicates the skill that I will be assessing my kids on. For ecology, I will be looking at ORR. Should I go assessing for ecology, of course I'll be looking at ORR. I'm going to be showing you how we're going to be doing that from home. Of course the quadrant is not there, but we're going to be getting that done. The yellow space suggests the optional labs, those labs that will make up the 18 or the additional 10 labs. That's what the yellow space there indicates. So you can see, read from the metrics. Green meaning that the syllabus says we're supposed to do that, and yellow are of course the additional labs that we will be doing. Here we have some instruction. The labs in green must be done. However, the skills may change. Now the teacher can of course decide what skill they want to assess, and that's fine. The labs in yellow should allow for adequate lab practice. So we are going to be going through all these. We are going to be showing you just some of the little things that we're going to be needing at home, not much. So additional labs that we're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at respiration as an additional lab. We're going to be looking at osmosis as an additional lab. We're going to be looking at reproduction as an additional lab. We're going to be looking at soils as an additional lab. Locomotion, sensitivity. We're going to be looking at the mosquito as a vector, and of course we're going to be looking at that as an additional lab. Seed dispersal, and we cannot go anywhere without looking at enzymes. We think that these labs are pretty much adequate. Be reminded we have 42 labs in the syllabus, and we're expected to be assessed on 8. So it is sort of, should I say, in the reverse, it is difficult not to be able to find labs that we can assess in the virtual space. And that's why you're here. If you're still watching, you want to know what we're going to be doing, and I assure you, you are going to be enjoying the presentation that we have. Today we're going to be looking at the syllabus, answer these labs to see what they are, and of course in the coming days we're going to be doing them one at a time, providing adequate guidance. Let's look at some notice, some things that we think that you should be paying attention to. All right, firstly we want to the assigned office, and we refer to the assigned office being your Ministry of Education, the CXC office, your school. Now the assigned office in your country, assigned offices in your country may decide to use virtual platforms for labs, or teachers may have to find a way to make it work. Now, until all this is said or done, then the labs must still go on, because if we look at the timetable at the CSEC website, we would have realized that we'll be doing both paper 1 and 2 come 2021, and the labs of course should be there. And so if there is nothing new to say that we won't, we have to keep going, and we don't want to leave the kids in this space of wondering what will happen, if it will happen. We want to go forward like it is business as usual, where of course labs are concerned. We are going to be doing that, and of course paying attention to the safety protocols. Where the situation allows, lab must be done in the assigned class time. Student must prepare a soft copy and hard copy of the work. So we're suggesting, until we are guided otherwise, we want our students to have both soft copy and hard copy. Be reminded that they will be sending these soft copy to your virtual platform, wherever that platform is, and of course you can provide feedback in that way. And we also encourage you to keep a folder with these labs for each of your kids, so that you can provide that feedback, send it back, and you will have it there, should in case you are not able to reach the child when it's time for SBA. Please do not allow the kids to keep the labs until the end of the semester. Provide enough guidance, and of course remind them at the end of the class the work is supposed to be handed in. So you really don't want to give them an activity more than they can manage or will be able to complete during that class time. Now, teachers and students in all cases must be guided by their school and or assigned office, and we did of course define assigned office. I have below suggested activities that could keep our students in science, engage the family, and ensure completion of the SBAs. Now, while suggested activity will be given, you may be required by the assigned office to have the students assessed in front of you, and not in front of you meaning in front of the teacher. So we could give you some that could be done from home, but of course at some point in time you might have to bring these kids in to ensure that they pretty much understand the skills. With that said, we encourage you to go and have a look at our videos. We have looked at a number of the practical skills that we're supposed to master for So have a look at that, so the students can of course be a part of that exercise. It's important to note that what I have here is pretty much my views and not something that was communicated to me by the CSEC or the CXC office. No, that has not happened. It's pretty much my view. Now, the syllabus has 42 labs. You will do about 18. 8 will be marked for CSEC SBA, and 7 are given in the syllabus that you should present for marking. So there we have some guidance as I would have seen it as a teacher planning for the CXC. Pretty much I am sharing my views. They are not the views of the CXC, and I of course remind you at all time to be guided by the assigned offices, be it your school, the Ministry of Education, or the CSEC. I'm going to be hopping on now into the syllabus to look at those labs, just an overview of the labs. Cool, welcome back. We are now looking at the CSEC syllabus, and we're going to be just having a quick overview of these 42 labs that are expected. We're going to be showing you the labs that we are going to be assisting you with. We're going to be having a walkthrough as to how we can have them accomplished in the virtual space. Be reminded, for all these labs, we're going to be doing a single lab and upload that particular lab, either the lab, the guidance, or video, or something around the lab that of course will be helping you. So we're looking at the labs. Remember that you can download the syllabus at any time. It's pretty much on the internet. So we're looking at section A of the syllabus, and we're talking about grouping living organisms, and there we have a lab. You could have this as your first lab activity if you are in grade 9 or if you are in grade 10, where all the kids will be required to do is to take a nature walk, and you're pretty much going to organize your students into groups, and they're going to be observing plants and or animal in the natural habitat. Now you of course you will need to do a table so the kids can record this activity. Now you are not going to be carrying the kids on the outside, however, for your COVID response, but you could ask them to just look around the home, be just a single lizard on a tree. Some persons might be able to find 10 organisms, some persons might be able to find 20, some persons might just go out and see a bee on a flower, some person might see a red flower, a white flower, that type of thing. So whatever they are seeing outside as an organism, be it plant or animal, you ask them to record it in a table. Right? And we're going to be talking more about this when we do this actual lab to show you how it can be done in the virtual space. Then the other lab that we're looking at looks at continuity and variation. Now we're talking about classifying organism into taxonomic group based on physical similarities, and here we're going to be doing some drawing and of course construct a table to record the observation. Here we could probably provide you a dichotomous key. We could walk you through that dichotomous key that everybody will be comfortable with the dichotomous key heading into the exam and be able to use it for further studies. Now this is the second lab, and it's important to note here we are expected to do a little math. Simple statistical analysis is important for this math. So this is probably one of the first lab that is required by the syllabus. It's actually field work, and usually we would have been using a quadrat or a transect line. Now the kids are home, we are not there with them, they really don't have a quadrat. We might have to look at using any of these equipment. We'll probably have to make them at home, bottles and jars and that type of thing. We'll probably have to make them at home in order for the kids to carry out the lab. That too I'll be taking you through. So this is very, very important because the syllabus wants us to cover this, and like I said, there are 42 labs in the syllabus, and it's very difficult not to be able to find one that you can do. We're looking at the components of soil, air, and of course water holding capacity, mineral, nutrients, pH, that type of thing. We are going to be taking it through that. It might be a virtual lab, but it will, enough information will be provided where your students will be able to write a lab, and of course you'll be able to use the video to guide them. Now here we have another eco lab, observation from a large tree, and we're going to examine of course the root nodules on a peanut plant. Not everybody will have this lab, so you'll observe that there are some labs that we just have underlined. Those are not the labs that we're going to be looking at, but these labs are of course in the syllabus, so we just pause to show you these labs. The ones that we're going to be looking at, you'll observe that there's a rectangle or a square drawn around them. So here we have another lab of the 42, and like I said, we're not going to be looking at this one, but you can feel free to go about looking at it. You could download a copy of the syllabus and look at those suggested activities in the syllabus, so you will be on the right track. Drawing here, drawing a cell from a microscope. We won't have a microscope at home, so again we're not going to be doing that bit. Here we have another lab, and if you observe underline versus a rectangle, we're supposed to examine and draw the cross section of a stem or root as seen under the microscope. We don't have a microscope, so we won't be able to do that right now, but it is of course a lab. If you have the facility or the kids have the facility, you probably might be able to look at that. I'm not too sure what's your situation like wherever you are in the Caribbean. Now we're going to be looking at this one. We're going to be explaining the process of diffusion and of course osmosis. We're going to be carrying out labs. The syllabus wants us to carry out simple investigation to illustrate the movement of particles, molecules, and ion, and we're supposed to identify everyday instance of these process occurring. Of course, we have the diffusion lab online already. You could go to our channel and you will see of course the diffusion lab, or you could just click below here and look at our videos and you will see the diffusion lab. So here we go. We're going to be having another lab here. This one is the food tests. Here we're going to be testing a leaf for starch. We're going to be testing here a leaf for starch. All right, and we're going to the photosynthesis lab has a whole lot of different parts. We could look at tests for the evolution of oxygen using a water plant, carry out control experiment to demonstrate that light and chlorophyll are necessary for photosynthesis. Test for end product. Of course, we're going to be testing for starch. Right, so this is another big test that we'll be doing. We did this test already, or we did a part of this test already. We looked at the hibiscus leaf, which was a variegated leaf. We also looked at the carinilla leaf, which was not a variegated leaf. So of course you could look at that. We're going to be trying to see if we can get a water plant so that we can do that bit for you as well. Here we are supposed to draw and label the external features and internal structure of a dicotyledonous leaf as seen in cross section. We have done the drawing of a leaf. We have the drawing lab, the rules for the drawing labs. So here you might be able to ask your students to draw at least the external features of a leaf for examination. The internal structure, of course, you could just do that in your notebook, but of course for the drawing lab you could use a leaf. Now this lab is a little bigger than we can manage here. We're supposed to do investigation to include temperature, water, and carbon dioxide. We're not going to be doing this lab in our series, but of course it is something that you could look at wherever you are. Now this is the food test. We made mention of a food test earlier. We're going to be doing the food test, and of course we're going to be taking you through that because it's one of those labs that is required by the syllabus. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be showing you. We're going to be taking a slow walk through the food test. Of course, we're going to be doing them one at a time, but you can decide whether you combine them. But because of time, we want to ensure that we are presenting the content in a format that the students can follow. Now we have a drawing lab below, but we're not going to be doing that. We did outline earlier that the ones that we'll be doing are those in the rectangle. All right, so we're going to be looking at the rectangle labs again. We want to investigate the effect of temperature and pH and the activity of enzymes. Yes, we are going to be doing this lab, so make sure that you're looking out for the labs that we'll be doing. Here goes. We're going to, of course, look at this lab again. We are going to do simple investigation to show the products of aerobic respiration in yeast. We did do an investigation on respiration with plants. If you look at my home page, you will realize the experiment there with a plastic bag to prove that water is given off as a product of respiration. So yes, we're going to be doing this lab as well. And there we have another lab. We're going to use a model. We're not going to be doing that, but of course you could expose yourself to these labs. They are all in the syllabus. Here we have another lab. We're not going to be doing this lab, but of course, like we have been saying, you could decide to do it in your locality. We're going to be doing this one. Carry out food tests for starch, sugar, and oil in storage organs. Or we're going to be doing this, we might just combine this lab with the food test lab. We're going to distinguish between growth movement in plants and movement in animals. We are going to be doing a lab to show, yes, we're going to be doing this. The response of a stem and root of seedling to light, touch, and gravity. We're going to be doing this lab. Conduct simple exercise to investigate pattern of growth. Draw graph. We're going to be drawing and interpreting a graph, pretty much showing the growth curve, histogram from the given data. So you want to be looking out for this lab because we're going to be answering to this lab in one of our videos. We're going to relate the part of a flowers to their function. We're going to be doing a drawing lab for that. We're going to be explaining how that will be done in our video. Distinguish between continuous and discontinuous variation. We have this lab well outlined, and it will be the video we are going to be posting right after this publication. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that we have removed some of the fear. We want to again say thanks to Miss Bryce from Kellett and her students for being a part of our channel. Miss Berrick from Porus High School, we want to say thanks to Miss Kelly and her students. We want to say thanks to Miss Hay and her students. We want to say thanks to Miss White and her student out of Tarrant High School. To the guys locked in St. Mary, a big thank you. Those guys from Trinidad and Tobago, USA and England also, a big thank you. We want to invite you to go over there and check out Mr. Chen's teaching. He is a agriculture vlogger, and of course he has been doing a whole lot of work over there from grade 7 to 11 along with some past papers. I'm going to be leaving the link to Mr. Chin's channel in the description below. You want to go by and check Mr. Chin over there in St. Mary. Thank you very much for watching, and please remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share as many times as you wish, and of course leave us a like and remember a comment below. Thanks much for watching. Walk good.